Alright, hey guys, I'm Casey, of course, and this is my speech on why we should allow non-domesticated animals in our households. Very rough, by the way. Um, so, at one point in everybody's life, we bond with an animal. We bond with another species. Whether it be a dog, or, a panda, or a koala, they are stereotypically, like, cuddly and cute and funny. For example, this little guy that just entered my room, he's not going to be part of the presentation, but he just abruptly came in here and it kind of annoyed me a little bit. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm not taking that out of the recording. I just got to close my door. But, as I was saying, people bond with animals. And that's exactly what a zookeeper does with his or her animal. They have feelings for those animals that they train, that they put their time into, they dedicate their lives to, right? I have done weeks of research to find that if all animals did have the luxuries that, for example, this guy did, he's extremely spoiled. He gets lots of food and he goes wherever he wants, like interrupts people's speeches. But yeah, if they did have those luxuries, then we could prevent a lot of these animals going extinct. So today I'll give you reasons why it'd be better for non-domesticated animals to live in, our households. The stated by Born Free USA from 2003 to 2017, animal incidents in zoos aren't getting better. They have been they haven't been decreasing, but they haven't been increasing either. Some animals are just genuinely agitated and aren't fit for households, right? A majority of these animals would consist of like lions and jaguars and cheetahs and like, boa constrictors and like wild boar, but you wouldn't want something wild in your home. You would want something, from a zoo, something that is tameable, something that has a trainer, right? These animals, like I said, are very likely to harm others, but there is an exception, right? There are animals such as, monkeys and pandas and koalas that are 100% tameable. It is just a little bit more difficult to get across with them. These animals, of course, can be noticed at zoos and stuff like that, and they get agitated whenever they are in confined space. And a lot of people, what they do is they stop by them and they look at them, and that's literally the only life that they're subjected to, is just having people stare at them through a glass prison cell. But if they were treated as a household pet, like if they had, these luxuries, chances are it might sort of bridge the gap. So lead by example, me having my dog in here, he feels like he has the exact same liberty that I do whenever I just roam around my home and I just feel like, hanging out in one room or the other. And he just loves to barge in whenever he feels like it. But that's pretty much what these animals would be receiving. They would be receiving sort of, domesticated, natural living space. And leading by example, other animals may be able to see this and catch on, and whether or not they're tameable, as they become tame, who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? So, like I said, this may decrease animal agitation as a whole, having, you know, non-domesticated animals in our households to lead by example. But now that we've discussed animal types in households and whether or not we would keep specific animals in households, let's discuss why people wouldn't want animals in their households. Animals can ruin households. Like, for example, koalas or pandas, if you just let them free and let them loose into your home without even knowing anything, uh, chances are they would ruin your household. Not only that, but they may pass. Pass on as in like die, sadly. But another reason not to own an animal such as this is that neighbors may dislike you for owning this animal. So it may cause, you know, disturbances and stuff like that. People are afraid of also finding wild animals elsewhere, like say on their front lawn. So that wouldn't be very much of a positive. And people may also be afraid of animals being mistreated. We do, in doing this, in allowing an animal in your home, you would have a major responsibility in taking care of them, but it's also common to find someone who feels it's responsible for us not to have them in our home just because they are animals and they survive in the wild, and they, in doing so, they don't, you know, die by our hand. Animals also, another reason not to have an animal in your household is because they don't abide as easily compared to, you know, regular domesticated ones like this guy. When I picked him up, for example, I just threw him on my bed and he didn't really flinch. But, you know, if you pick a lion up and try to throw him on your bed, chances are you're not going to have much luck. Also, some people, you know, like I said, believe animals could be abused. And the only way to own an animal such as this would be if you had some sort of connections, like say to farmers. If you wanted to own a wolf, you would need to provide some sort of like cattle or, you know, lamb because it's less expensive. You know, specific things like bamboo would need to be required for like a panda because it's pretty much like what they live off all the time. And the only, oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I'm on my transition now. This is rough. But now that we've talked about the reasons people may not accept an animal, let's talk about how we can actually fix this. So, someone keeping an animal would have to be certified and licensed to work with animals. So, like I said, zookeepers, that would be the best option. These people also need to be heavily background checked, like extremely heavily background checked, like literally like examined by others, right? So that they could ensure the lifespan, like a long lifespan of the animal. So, like I was informed by my teacher, you can't have a koala on bamboo trees because chances are that it's going to, you know, pass sooner than any other animal you would have hanging around the home, like a dog. Where am I? Other than that, these people, oh wait, there needs to be a lot of training involved, like a whole lot of training. So these animals need to have worked for this with these people for years before they can actually allow them into their home. Maybe from 1 to 2, that would be the best, so everything could be broken in. Those who own an animal also have to live in specific non-domestic households. These households would be, of course, spaced apart, so there wouldn't be disturbances. For example, if somebody owned a wolf, the howling would not be heard unless, you know, the wolf was loud enough. But people would know whether or not they lived in non-domestic households. So, and whether or not they would be okay with having those disturbances, or they could put up with it. animals also need to be constantly monitored. So not only would this have to be a hobby, something that you enjoy, taking care of a non-domesticated animal, this would also be a job. These animals could go as far as being loyal. It does exist. There are plenty of non-domesticated animals that are totally loyal to their trainers and owners. Even lions and jaguars and cougars, for example, things that I recommend not keeping in your household, but it is possible for them to be completely compliant. They're non-domesticated animals that are totally compliant do exist out there. And it is, like I said, it is possible for them to be tamed. These animals would see people in another light. Like I was saying previously, these animals would lead by example. Maybe they would notice a zookeeper or see others. And like I said, the future has limitless possibilities. Rather than escape a zoo or try to escape the zoo, these animals would go home with an owner or their zookeeper, right? So they would have that close, like tight connection, that bond that normally a zoo animal wouldn't have with any sort of human being. And noticing, like, having that bond with that human being might even reflect the way they react with other human beings, even if somebody is looking at them from the other side of a glass window. And like I said, leading by example, this would also decrease the amount of zoo attacks. That it may prevent zoo attacks, like, for example, Harambe. A baby happened to drop in there and he didn't know how to act, so he just dragged the baby along. Well, what happened if, a baby dropped in there and he was like, okay, might as well just stay away from it because it's not hurting me, right? This could also ensure a long lifespan and prevent extinction. So constantly monitoring one animal at a time could increase the lifespan of that animal. Because you're constantly taking care of it. You already know its needs by the time you've been taking care of it at the zoo for 1 to 2 years, right? You've had plenty of training done with it. You know the ins and outs of this animal, so you know how you're going to take care of it. And not only will it increase the lifespan, but it'll lower the amount of extinctions and lower the amount of deaths. Lower the amount of extinctions regarding specific animals. People may also become inspired to own their own animals, right? So, for example, if you have your own animal, others may see this and they may want to do it on their own. Of course, like I said, there would still be those like heavy regulations, but it would be possible for somebody to be able to get into it. So I hope you all understand how these changes would be for the better. And as discussed, these practices could further prevent extinction. These animals don't deserve to be caged. And I believe that letting them not roam free, but roam on our own terms with us, cooperating with us, and being with us for longer periods of time and getting used to us and understanding us may be promising for the future of non-domesticated animals and human beings as a whole. So thank you guys very much for listening to this 14-minute long speech, about to be 15 minutes. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.